Good afternoon everybody, and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Districts, and my name's Susanna and I live with trains, and today it's going to be a layout tour video today because it's quite extensive and I've done so much work to the layout, and I haven't really done a complete layout tour for ages, and today is as good a day as any to do it. Purely because today is the weekend of Gets and I'm not going. And that was, to be honest, I was doing an R in over going and whether or not I was going to go, and I did say I wasn't going to go, and it turns out that I didn't go. Now, one of the reasons for not going is just a lot of it last year was very rushed and it was a bit much for me, to be honest with you. And I also work late, and so therefore I finished pretty late last night. So it's going to be a bit of a rush to sort of get to Gets today, and in all honesty, I'm kind of glad to have today and this weekend as a chilled out day, because you will probably get a bonus video from me, because I'm actually going to be going to the Aldershot exhibition, which is also usually on the same weekend as Gets. And the Aldershot exhibition is far more local to me. It's only literally about 20 minutes down the road. And to be honest, it's a lot more easier to get to. It's a lot easier on the eye in terms of like not having so many people. So, you know, it's just quite a more of a relaxing kind of deal as opposed to going to Gets, which I feel for me would be, like last year it was a bit much. It was all too rushed. I literally got there last year and, you know, was there for about 10 minutes, had the YouTube meet up with everybody, and after that it was just became too much for me that I had to actually walk away and make my way home. And to be honest with you, I'd rather just sort of not have that, and I could just save the money and that will go on to elsewhere. Anyway, that being said, let's crack on with the video for the layout update. And also, with it being International Footy Weekend, there's no kind of Premier League or anything, so, and there's no F1, which I'm also interested in. So it becomes it makes the day a lot more longer and a lot more easier for me to do this video, because this video is going to be quite a long video. So like I said, a lot's changed. And so therefore, anyone who's new, who hasn't seen the complete layout as it is, you'll get to see that today. And I'll explain it all to you. So it does promise to be a long video. And then towards the end of the year, we'll be having a probably fleet video where I just show you all my locomotives and rolling stock that I have, which has been substantially reduced. And now there's stuff here that's really kind of like, I really don't want to get rid of. There's stuff that I've had that I don't mind, but most of the stuff that's here at the moment is like stuff that I really want to keep. And so therefore, you know, we're getting to a point where I'm down to a certain amount of locomotives and rolling stock to run, which is good, because when you have far too much of anything, you end up with stuff just in boxes that gets forgotten about, that never gets used. And like I said, I tend to the money I spend on the railway tends to be reinvested from the railway. So any sales that I make through the railway tends to get ploughed back into the railway, as opposed to using my own personal money as such. So I'm going to spin you around and we'll make a start here at the front of the layout. So this is going to be like I said, a layout tour and a layout update, because there's stuff here that people haven't seen yet. So let's turn you around and start explaining to you how it works. Now, before we do that, I should explain to you that this layout runs completely around the flat, from front here to the back, and it just does, and all it is one big single loop which meanders its way around the flat, and it comes back on itself before it goes back out again. So although it looks like it's twin track, it actually isn't. It's just an out and back, and that's how the layout works. And then with various industries and ports of call in between. The layout is DCC sound, and I run a mixture of Hornby, Blackman, Helgen, all kinds of locomotives, Dapol, And I also run a Digitrax system on this layout for those of you that are interested. And I tend to run it with the Digitrax digital system, which is kind of like with this, where you've got kind of like the digital displays. You can't really see it at the moment because it's not actually switched on, but basically you can use these handheld handsets, and they're with digital coloured screens to make it easy for you to identify what you're doing and what address you've got and all the rest of it. And I really do love operating. These are really easy to use. I do also have an LNWI router connected to my Digitrax system. So if I want to use my mobile phone, like I'm filming from, I do actually have the either Wii Throttle Lite you can use, or the you can also Wii Throttle, or you can use the GMRI engine driver to also operate trains on this layout. So that is all doable. I couldn't really tell you what the size is, so if anyone's asking me what the track plan is and what the size is, it's really quite complicated, and I haven't really got round to really doing it. That's something that I'm not particularly great at doing. I mean, I know there's loads of people who are great at doing designs on doing artwork for their track plans and stuff, but I'm not one of those people. All the points, turnouts, are all hand operated. There is no automation on any of my points at all. And there's also a boundary between the front and the back, which I'll show you and explain that to you. And there's various links and drop down sections, which I'll also show you to create the complete loop for the layout. We do have lighting on here, and that's pretty much, and the lighting, so you can do night operations if you wish. So that is something that's really, really good. I tend to sort of, when I do my cab ride videos, I tend to do like a nighttime running session, so you can see it all at night, and it looks pretty impressive because there is no additional lighting on the layout. And what I mean by that is there isn't, like some people will have like LED strip lighting and stuff like that, or LED lights and stuff like that mounted on walls and stuff. But on here, essentially all the lighting comes direct from the layout itself, whether it be from the platforms or whether the lighting from the actual yard and stuff like that. That's all you ever get. So there isn't any, so it's quite impressive. And anything at night that's dark is basically reflective of what it's like in the real world, because obviously in the real world, you go, when you do your train journey at night, there's obviously sections when you look out the window, you can't see absolutely nothing because it's so dark. And so there's going to be sections like that as well around the layout. So now we've sort of discussed how the layout operates and what system we use. We're now going to spin you around and start talking to you about the various sections. So bear with me. So we're here at the front, and the first thing I just want to show you is that the Digitrax system, we've got these various panels around the layout, and so you can operate the layout from various areas, and this is towards the kitchen area. Now the reason why this panel is here is basically to sort of cover the heritage line which we're going to be building, which I'll talk to you momentarily about. So you can plug in your controller here, and you can also, this is the holder, so you can actually put your handheld unit here when you're not using it. Now, as we go up, let's zoom you out a bit. Now, originally, going back in, let's go back out again. There we go. So originally when I built this, it was literally like an 8x, I think it's about 9 foot actually. I think it's 9 foot by about 4.5 feet wide at this point, down towards the end there. And it used to be straight across there and back like that. So it was just basically it was a twin track oval essentially. But that didn't really cut the mustard for me. And also I felt that it was encroaching too much into my living space, because this is my living space after all. So basically we took a chunk out of that, and that creates a bit more living space around there, which then creates this kind of loop. Now, this layout is also on wheels and broken up into sections. So this whole section here in front of you, up until where it says Southwest Trains, right down the very end, where my finger's kind of pointing across, there's a break there. And that whole piece back is removable. It's just bolted, and the wiring is just actually quick release pins. And the reason why we have that is because above here we have an access hatch for when they come to do the gas servicing. So this sometimes needs to be moved out of the way for them to be able to do that, to access it. So one of the reasons for cutting it down was also to make it easier, because there's actually another access hatch further down right up the top there. And essentially all I'd have to do is remove this one here. And this is, like I said, it's all on wheels. Plug in, you can disconnect it, the balls can pop off, and I can move it out of the way so they can have access to the hatch if they need to. So what you're looking at here is the Freightliner yard, which has seen some development recently, and it's based on the sites at Manchester Guide Bridge, and also the Freightliner Leeds depot. There was a building there that I took inspiration from as well. So this big building right here, that's come from Manchester Guide Bridge, and these two ones have come from Leeds, the inspiration. And I've just created a sort of TMD Freightliner just based on what I've seen there. And we also have a lot of Freightliner down these parts. It's mainly Freightliner. It's very rare we see any DRS stuff down here. I don't really see any of it. So it's between GBRF mainly and Freightliner down this part of the world. Although we do see a lot of EWS stroke DB Schenker stuff. And it's, like I said, it's got the Wagon Works building. We've got the Loco Shed building, and then we just got the sort of Loco Shed, or but that one can be raised. That's why it's slightly taller. They're all slightly different. All these buildings are all slightly different. So obviously this one's got a sort of like a lean-to to it, and it's also like the Wagon Works. Like I said, this one's got a slightly taller one, and it's got roof detail so you can see into it. And one of the things I'd like to do is this building here is one of the later ones. It's the last one to be built here on this yard, and that still needs lighting in it. And also I'd like to replace the lighting in this building here, because this building here, it's got some really, really weak lighting in it, which really isn't really... It was good when I first did it, but luckily when I first built this one, there is a Susanna's Come Build With Me video on this particular building here. I can actually remove the side walls to actually gain access to the wiring. So I can actually replace the wiring in that to put like a nicer LED strip, which will make it slightly easier on the eye and make it light up nicer. Because at the moment, it's quite dim. I'll see if I can give you a demonstration. So as you can see, the Wagon Works is well lit up, and you can really see it. On the smaller one, that is a bit more tricky to get any kind of lighting into it. You can see there is lighting in there, but you can see it's pretty dim. So I do have some more LED strips, and I will be probably redoing that section there. And as you can see how the yard gets lit up at night, and you can also see the station, which we'll get onto shortly. But I'm really pleased with it. So like I said, this is like no additional lighting. This is literally the lighting that's on this section of the layout. And that's how it is at the moment. So whilst we've got the lights on, let's have a look at the station with its lights on. And you can see there's a lot of detail that goes in here. Again, it's done with LED strip lighting. There's also some detail in this scratch build building. This was made out of odds and ends from various kits. It's just a complete scratch build. and that looks really nice. It's got some people on it, it's got some ticket barriers in it, it's got some vending machines, which you might be able to see. Let me see if I can zoom you in a bit, and we'll see if we can do that. Oh, there you go, look. So I'm sure you can see that some people, ticket machines, ticket barriers, vending machines. There's actually more than that in there as well. There's also a some flooring in there. And then after, if you look down, there's loads and loads of people. And then we've got the footbridge here, and you can see sort of the LED strips there. That's lighting up the stairwell. You can see one on the top. There's also a busker on the top. And then you can also see some of the platform lighting and various yard lighting that goes on along here. And like I said, here there is no lighting in this building, so that's something else that needs to be done and tackled. And you can see that there is a light here inside, but it's very, very dim. So we're going to sort of, I've got some more LED strip lighting, so I'm going to kind of replace the lighting in that building there. And then we've got various other sort of lighting over here. And like I said, you can see the station. That station, incidentally, holds a loco, and I think it's about 5 coaches. So I think that's how it works. Some of the details along here, my apologies for any shadows, include the DPD guy doing his deliveries. We also have the biffer lorry with the guy at the back, the operator at the back, emptying out the bins. And then we've got various bits and pieces like railings and stuff like that. And also we have the diesel dog front loader. And we also have a Rusty Rails platform ramp, inspection ramp. Then we've got a couple of Acura scale. These two at the front here are Acura scales. That one's a Batman. Recently arrived is this crane. I don't actually recommend it. I bought it off of eBay. It was far too expensive for what it was. You don't get, basically I've added the little cubicle on there. I can't remember what you call it, but I've added that into it just to give it a bit more, and the ladders, just to give it a bit more detail, because literally all you're getting is the sides and the top, and that's pretty much it. There is the crane piece to fit in there. I haven't actually added that in yet. So, but yeah, it's there and it does a job, but it's just not, it wasn't worth the money, to be honest. And it's actually been repainted, because the original yellow that it came in, it just looks so plasticky, honestly. So it had to be done. So that got redone. So the other crane is at the back end. Now, one of the other things I've been adding, as you can see here, are these ground signals. There's 3 of them in a line there. I'll show you a better view of them elsewhere around the layout, but you can also see how that works. And like I said, you can see like there's a single loop main line and stuff like that. And if I sort of walk you out, you can sort of see how it works. It's a wooden substructure, and then basically there's a skirting that runs round, and that's to make it look tidy and presentable. And then it's got the Mildenhall and Districts kind of logo on there. And then we've got the lighting that runs along here. So as we start to move around the corner, I should actually say, I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is actually Mildenhall Riverside Station. That's what it's called. And the reason why it's called Mildenhall Riverside Station is purely because of the background, because it's on the docks. So that's why it is called Mildenhall Riverside. I should also say that the Heritage Line, there is actually a spot right down the end. Now, it looks a bit off at the moment, but if you look right down the very end there, the back scenes don't quite marry up. But that's because that's going to be in out to the to the Heritage Line when I get round to doing it, which is not too far away. So now, as we move around this corner, we also have some more lighting along here. There you go. And we also have the breakdown scene. And if we kind of zoom right in, you can sort of see that we have the stagecoach bus broken down. You can also see that there's the engineer. He's got his head buried in the bonnet, trying to work out what's up with it. He's got his little van there, and there's a recovery truck as well. And then we've got the driver there with his bag and his uniform on. And then if we go over here, we've got somebody waiting at the burger van, the hot dog van. So, and then we start moving over to the sort of container yard and container terminal. And let's see if we can zoom you out of that. And then this whole section here is going to be the subject of rail replacement video, all the way down to the end there. That is all going to be the subject of rail replacement video. And those of you who know or saw my last rail replacement video, that basically means that there's going to be no trains running, because this whole area is going to be redone. There's a number of reasons why I'm going to redo this whole section, but I'll come on to it when the video turns up. So as you can see, we're here at the Volmer container terminal, and you'll also see that my test train is actually in the container line. And the reason for that is there is actually a reason. It's actually there on test for a reason. So the test train is actually there on test. So it's not actually just there because it's just park it up out of the way. It's actually a reason why it's actually there. As I'm using it as a bit of just to do some testing and some measuring to see what plans are afoot. And there are some plans afoot for this whole area. Now, one thing I neglected to mention is that I said that the layout was split, and this is one of the splits here. So this whole section there can be moved as one big piece here. And then on here, there's also another split here. So this section here can also be moved if necessary. And then this section here is connected to the other end. So the layout can be actually pulled apart, and it's semi-permanent. So anyway, here we are at the container terminal, and I do like it, and it's still going to have a place here and still going to stay here, but it is going to change. I've done a number of weathering on my containers as I've been practicing. So there's one there, another one there that I did. This one here I've actually patched out. You can see I've done a patch on that, on the Maersk one. And then as I move you along, my apologies, you can see we have a reach stacker, and then we have two straddlers which were kindly made for me. Pride and joy, love them on the layout. There's one there, one there. And recently I've been practicing my weathering on these containers, and I really do like the way they've come out. So this is one of them. There's another one back there. So I've been trying, so these two that I've done is actually to experiment with fading techniques to try and fade them out. So it wasn't just about just weathering, doing rust like I did with the Maersk one. So the Maersk one is just literally just with sort of basic weathering, but there's no fading on this one. But I've actually started to experiment with fading effects, which is what I've done on this one. And there you can see what it did look like, because these are both the same, the two C wheels. So the one on the right, you can clearly see it's had no weathering at all. It looks absolutely pristine. And this one I've been experimenting with, and it's the same with this Dreambox one. It came along with this one that's underneath. And that one again hasn't had anything done to it. So you can see how you can make these containers really look really run down and used. So I've really been experimenting, because containers, if you want to learn how to do weathering, containers are the perfect thing to learn on, because they're the sort of things that they're not overly expensive, that if you get it wrong, it's not the end of the world. So, so you can learn on those. And then along here, You can see the road the road markings on the container terminal, and then you can also see like the test train is actually on the actual container line, but that will soon change. So this whole section here is all going to change, not drastically, but it's going to change enough. And the reason why is literally just for improved running, and just to get a bit more space, and so essentially it's going to be roughly the same, but there are some plans for it. So I'll delve into those as and when the time comes. As we move along here, we have Cheston Road. Now, one of the things I really want to sort out with Cheston Road is the station itself isn't going to change, it's going to remain the same. I had toyed with the idea of possibly, but I don't really want to encroach too more on my living space. It's more than likely going to stay. But what I really want it to do is get rid of this kink. As you can see, it kind of has this dogleg effect where it kind of goes in before it comes back out again. Now, ideally, what I want to do is bring the line over here to give it more of a sweeping curve. So that's one of the reasons, it's one of the things I'd like to address. Another thing I'd like to address is getting rid of this curved point, and I'm going to be reusing it elsewhere, but just getting rid of that. And again, so when the trains come around here, it's going to be a lot more, it's basically to ease the curvature and also to make it less likely for derailments. Not that I have too many derailments along here anyway. Now, I've got another button here, and that will kind of switch on the lights for Cheston Road. And that is, although you can see two platforms, it literally is one loop out and back, and it's got a gauge master back scene on it. And then it leads into the scenic section and this tunnel here, which I really, really like. This is one of those that I really experimented with, because I wanted to create my own tunnel and I wanted to create my own effect. And I've seen so many cab rides, and I see these trains going through some fancy tunnels with really ornate kind of tunnel mouths, and there wasn't really a huge amount to choose from out there. So I ended up trying to make my own, and I'm really pleased with this one. I love this one to bits. Really cool. So here we have the exit point of the tunnel, and this is a Gauge Master end tunnel. So this one isn't one that I created, this is one from Gauge Master. And it leads out to this point here, which is the link between the main living area and the rest of the flat. And the thing is, this link here is the boundary, because from here you have to duck under. So when I've had people come around to help me operate, it's usually that either I would stay at the back side here and somebody would operate the front, or it'd be vice versa. So there wouldn't be any duck unders, because there'd be one person operating the front and I'd be operating the back. So as we move on to here, we now move on to Goswell Sidings. So here at Goswell Sidings, this is the first thing that kind of greets you as you're walking through the door. And as you can see, I've actually experimented with weathering and fading out a wagon. It's the first time I've did this. And this is my Network Rail wagon but it's also my cleaning train. And the reason why I've just done that is because I just kind of wanted to dump it somewhere, but it looked way too clean. So I thought, if I just experiment on this wagon, then I can leave it as an excuse to leave it on the sidings, almost abandoned. But at least when I need to clean the track, it's just there ready for me to use. So it's one of the reasons why I did it. And I was really pleased with the job I did on it, actually. It looks quite heavily weathered and stuff like that. It looks like it's kind of been beaten up and abandoned. And it was, like I said, it's the first time I've ever really gone to town trying to learn some things. But rather than spending it on an expensive locomotive and then getting it wrong, then I'd rather just do it like this. Now, as you come round, you have the signal box. The signal box is lit, as is this whole area is lit. And as you come round, you'll see that there's a 73 part there, my South West Train 73 by Dapple. Also, as you can see, there's also another panel here. So this is another point of controlling your trains using the DT oh, I can't remember what it's called now. The UT6, that's it. That's what it's called, the UT6. So this is a UT6. And you can also see that I've got the LNWI connected here. Now, it was originally at the front end of the layout, but I moved it over here because I was having some connectivity issues with the train. Now, obviously, the layout runs from back to front. It made sense to put it somewhere more central, which is why it is here. And like I said, again, we've got a UP panel up here to be able to plug in the Digitrax controllers. And here is the sidings here, and that is also kind of been different kind of ballasting. The rails are a bit more rusty at the back where it's not as used as much. And then we come down here, and that is the end of this little section here. Now, between the bridge there that you can see and this point here, right in this corner, that is basically two bookcases that have been linked together, and that's on wheels as well, so this can be moved. So obviously once that link is removed to the left, then obviously you gain access to the living room. So this bit here to the bridge is all one section, which again can be moved. So as you look down, you can see the various ballasts. You can also see that there's another tiny little ground signal that came from rusty rails. We've got a guy operating the point lever over there. We have the hut there, which is fully detailed. That has got detail inside that. And then obviously you've obviously got the footbridge and the various signage and various signals and stuff like that on there. So if you look at this at night, you can see that the signal box is on. Got some lighting here, some lighting over here, and you can also see there's the detail, that there is some detail in there. I don't know how well you can pick it up, but there is some detail in there. And then you've got a footbridge here, signal here. Another nice little bit of detail is this guard that goes behind the signal to help the driver see the signal so it doesn't get blended into the background. And then you've got a fixed distance signal, which I also don't see modelled very often on layouts, as well as some speed restriction signs along here. And it looks all very nice as we come round and round to the back here. So let's just show it to you in the daylight. There you go. So that's what it looks like in the daylight. Over here. So from here on in, you can now see basically a layout update, because this is where I've done the masses of work. So those of you who've been with the channel for a long time will have seen what's between the front and Goswell sidings, and you will know what it's like. But what you haven't seen, this is now part of the layout update, because this is new, totally new. So this section here is known as the Dropdown Section because of the fact that there's the front door hidden behind there. Now, to make this a bit more aesthetically pleasing, one of the things I wanted to do, the first thing I wanted to do, is something that's been bugging me for a while, is actually to do this back bit of the bridge, the road bridge, because I hadn't done it and it was still kind of hadn't been finished and it didn't look right. So again, I had to redo it, finished it, so it blends in with the other side, and so it looks more finished. One of the other things I did was I did this. I made this. This is a lift out section. Now, as if I leave it like that before, you can see what it was like before. And basically this thing used to flip up and lean up against the wall. But now with this, it's a lot more finished. And that looks a lot more pleasant to look at. And what I've done is I've tried to glue as many accessories as I could to this removable section, such as the British Rail signage and the bus stop. So every time I put this up, I wouldn't have to keep putting individual pieces in to make up the scene. As you come around here, this is Goswell Park Station. This is the branch line station. So this bit comes up and comes off. And again, this has got lighting, which is linked to the main lighting if I switch it off. And as you can see that all these are just plugged in accessories. So there isn't actually any power in here in the station building or on this backboard. It's just literally connected to the main supply that's on the main section, which is permanently attached. And this is how it looks. And this can take my 450, my 4-car 450. So that's all that it can take, 4 cars. But that's plenty enough for a little branch line station along here. Also, I've got these off the internet. These are like the Network Southeast seating. I don't know if you can see those. I've got some of those. And again, I glued them in. So when the lift up section goes up, I don't have to keep putting all the accessories on. Now, the reason why there isn't much in the way of people, for those of you wondering, is A, that it is a branch line station, so it's quite rural, so it isn't always used. Also, because the height of this wall is about as high as it can go for it to lift up and stay up against the wall. So there is a limit, there is a height limit on how much I can have, so that's pretty much it. So if I do add people, those people would have to be added on afterwards once I've put the drop down section down. But I'm very pleased with this whole area. This looks really, really nice. We then move on to this little link. So as you can see, there's a join there, and where the bridge section is, that's the other link. So it's a very short little section just there. That's bridged across to create the curvature to go into the bedroom. And it's nicely detailed and scenic. I think I've got some more scenery, that possibly a bit of background scenery that I think I might still have. I'm not sure. I think possibly from the Gauge Master thing, and if I can, I probably will put it on there to give it a bit more depth rather than have that just that blue bit there. But it does look really, really nice, and it comes with a old Hornby fixed distant, which is glued in, as well as the cabinet. And there's also around the corner, I think there's you can just about see it. There's that concrete hut right up the top there. So as you come into the room, this is the sort of scene that kind of greets you. As you see there is the said road bridge. Now we start from the back, then work our way to the front, and you can see that we've got this whole storage yard, which we have. It's not very big, it's not a huge amount, but it is what I have to play with, and it does work, and it has been working really, really well. We then have this kind of diorama of my bus garage that goes on the top, and you can see the various buses. Basically, the bus garage there depicts Wandsworth Garage. Now I know Wandsworth Garage. It's based in London, southwest London, and I used to go there. I never actually worked from there, but I did actually used to see it a lot, and I used to go there quite a bit. I know the area really, really well. I did actually want to try and get one of the bus garages that I actually did work at London, but I think this is a Kingsway Models kit, and he didn't actually do one for the 2 garages that I worked at whilst I was in London. I think it's 2 or 3 garages. I can't remember now. So anyway, so this is how it kind of looks. So it's a nice little kind of diorama. Again, it's got lighting on it. It does actually work if you do the lights. You can see it all working. I'll show it to you when it's all turned off. And then as you come round here, you can see this is where it comes round the back here. And then this is where it gets really, really interesting, because this is where it kind of, it might not look interesting, but it will get interesting, trust me. Because this is the whole area that I've been working on along here. And as you go along the back, it kind of runs along the back there. Runs round there, round there, round there, round there, round there, and then it will come back round here, and then it will start making its way back to the front, which is going to be back this way. But let me just show you St Anne's Station. So that's St Anne's Station there. So this is St Anne's Station, and St Anne's Station has also had a fair amount of work recently. We've installed 2 depot signals, which was there, been for a while now, but one of them is now broken, and that was my own stupid fault because I have a drawer under here, and when I pulled it out, the drawer sort of slipped and ripped the bottom off one of them, which is the one on the left. So I now can't actually make it move up and down, but it does work, so I'll have to use it like handheld. But the one on the right was unaffected, thankfully, so I didn't break both of them. There's also lighting along here, which we'll show you in a little while. And one of the other things I've also added along here is you might be able to see, I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can. Let's see if we can zoom in on it. But there's actually, I think it's hidden behind. Let's see if, yeah, there you go. Look. There's another little ground signal down there. I've also added that signal over there. So that will enable reverse running. That one's just temporarily sitting there, the one on the right, because I'm not really too sure if that's actually going to stay there, but it probably will do. And then as we work our way around, oh, sorry, I'm just on my chair now, just rotating around. You can see the beginning of the GBRF depot, and there's also a working gate. And that working gate is just hand operated. And then we start moving towards the GBRF depot. So the GBRF depot has got some hand point levers. He's also got some speed signs and some additional information signs, safety signs, all kinds of signs. That word on that signal box that you can see over there. I was after getting a new signal box. I wanted to get one. And I was thinking of buying one, not thinking that they would be a relatively reasonable price. It turns out that that wasn't the case. And it was a complete rip-off. So I decided to make my own. So that's actually my own scratch-built version. It has a full detailed interior in it, which we'll see when I get the lighting on. And it was basically copied off the one over at Sidings. So it's kind of like a replica, although it is dimensions are slightly smaller. And also this is made out of, I think it's stone rather than card, and it's paper rather than the resin on the other building. But as you can see the safety signage and all the rest of it, and the speed restriction signs. And as you move into the depot, you can now see where that other crane went. So that crane is there, and you can see that there's a couple of 66s there, and GBRF signage. There's also one of the buildings, and then there's the second one that I built. So these look really, really smart. I'm really pleased with these. So as you can see from the long shot here, you can see how much detail there is here on the little Diddy GBRF freight building. Like I said, I will take it off the tripod so we can have a bit of a closer look, but for now you can see how this works. And this is the return loop section here. As you can see, the curve coming back on itself, and it's all fully lit up. The 2 porter cabins I already had, and the same person that I actually bought the crane from that I wasn't pleased with was also selling some stairs. So I basically could turn my 2 porter cabins into, stack them on top of each other so I can use the steps that I bought. And I basically gave these 2 porter cabins, which I had previously, one I actually scratch built and one I actually bought, I gave them both a respray, and put them into the GBRF colours. Now you might think, oh, why is that GBRF porter cabin in the darker shade of blue? And that is because actually I did actually see some photographs of the porter cabins in that darker shade of blue as opposed to that shade of blue. So I did do my research on that. We've now got some dapple signals again here as well. And also, what else have we got going on here? So if I can just bear with me a minute. Now, as you can hear, we've also got some sound effects going on. And you've also got the dapple signals that work as well. They drop. Thankfully, I haven't broken those ones. And you can see those work. And like I said, you can hear the sound effects as well. So here we're now off the tripod, and I'll show you some additional features that we have going on. I bought a number of bits and pieces from Rusty Rails. The scissor lift was one, which is where he's working on the 73 at the moment. There's also this little utility tug, which I also got from him. And I also got from him this little forklift. And then you can see all the road markings and stuff like that. It's not as big as I would have liked, but I would have liked it a bit bigger. We've got the container where they've got the spare parts and things. And this container has also had some weathering done to it, as you could probably tell. And that's been dumped there. That's got like parts in it and stuff like that. And then you've got the fueling area around the back there. And you've also got some signage that goes on along there, which you can barely make out. I mean, there's still loads to add to it. I'm just trying to work my way through it. And then if I just show you here, you can see the actual steps that I got. So that was enabled me to create and stack these two porter cabins together for the little offices. So that's cool. I'm really pleased with that as well. That looks pretty decent. And then that's the back end of it. And then that's the return loop that will head towards back towards the front. So on the right we have this spur going on, and this now leads to the carriage sidings, or the carriage shed I should say, but this has also had a lot of work done down here, so all the work has been mainly at the back end of the layout. Here I have my classic car show going on here with loads and loads of classic cars. There's a lot of new ones that are here, including the Metro that was new. The P5, Rover P5, there's a Rover SD1 that's also that you haven't seen, and also there's a Mark 1 Escort there next to the, so that's a Mark 1 Escort. There's also a Mark 2 Escort there, and that's new, and there's also an XR3 over there, or XR3i, as well as some Capris and stuff like that. And then obviously we've got some. Now what I did do with this is it was actually taller. The problem is, because it was taller, I couldn't contain as many cars for my classic car show. So what I did is I actually took 1.5 inches off the top, which gave me a bigger footprint. So I actually completely redid this whole section. Now this section is also removable. So this section is removable. That section is also connected to that section, which is also removable and on wheels. So this section's on wheels. That section over there is also on wheels. So it can all be moved. I mean, it is a bit of a logistical nightmare, I grant you, but it can be moved. And then as we come here, you now come to the carriage sidings, which I've changed quite substantially. I've changed the track configuration because it's a lot smoother to what it was. It was very hickledy-pickledy before. It was just really awkward before, but now it looks really, really cool. And this is it now. So this is my main Southwest Trains loco shed area, although I do have an intruder parking here at the moment, but that is my NMT. These are the ones that Alan kindly gave me the bodies for, I think, and I'm not sure if he gave me the chassis, I can't remember now, but basically I repurposed them and reused them. Here I've now created a road, which seems to seem, it kind of gives it a bit of a kind of, the road runs along parallel to the carriage shed, comes down here, and then it also comes here and then comes at the end, it just comes off the end of the board and the road sort of carries on alongside. That is the kind of purpose of it. I'm now going to show you this in the dark so you have an idea of what it looks like in the dark. So here is the carriage shed siding as we work our way back in the dark. As you can see, there is actually an LED strip that kind of lights this whole area, but you can also see that there's along the engine shed, it's actually lit up all the way down. It's a bit difficult to see considering all the trains are here, but you can see, you get the picture. Oh, I should say whilst I'm here, this kiddie, this one here, the 159, has now got sound in it, as you've probably heard from the last running video, and I've actually put KDs on both ends. Before it was just on one end. As you can see, it looks really, really nice in the dark. Also, you can see the ground signals. Let me see if I can zoom right in onto them. I don't know how close you can get into it, but that's probably about as close as I can get. So you get those ground signals. Again, I've got them from Rusty Rails, a pack of 15, I think they were. And once again, you can see the classic car show. You know what, there's a lot of yellow here, isn't there? Just thinking about it, I didn't realise I had so many yellow vehicles. So as we come into GBRF Yard, you can see the lighting that we have. And you can actually see the lighting inside the shed. You can see that there's a 73 in there. And you can see there's also a 66. Now I haven't added any more detail on the inside. The inside definitely needs more detail work along here. Definitely needs like platforms, steps and all kinds of stuff that needs to go in there. But as you can see, this is what it looks like in the dark. You've got the signals there. Again, that's the inside shed's lit up. The fuel and bay is lit up. And you can also see the inside of the signal box. And as you come around here, you can also see the signal lit up here. And the station building should be lit up as well, but I think that's got a loose connection in it, so that might need messing around with. But you can see how it is, and also the footbridge, and that's got people inside the footbridge. And you can lift the lid up of this so you can see inside it, so you can actually see there's people on it. So that's cool. And then there's the two signals. And the one doesn't drop anymore, the one on the left, that doesn't work because that's the one that's broken, but this one does. Which is a bit annoying, but it does work, so I'm just grateful it still works. We also have the bus depot all lit up. And actually, if you go down there, I don't know how this is going to work, but we'll try and get you down there. You can see there's actually an interior in there as well. There's actually a light in the way, that's why it's making it a bit awkward for me to get into. But there you go. So I'm just going to give you a slow pan round so you can actually see that whole section lit up. And here we go. So this concludes the end of today's layout tour video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Just let me know any comments and I will endeavour to get back to you. My apologies actually, because I'll tell you what I'm going to do. On my next video, I will do a specific Q&A video and answer all your comments that I haven't commented on the previous few videos, which I keep meaning to reply to. And if you have any further questions or anything like that, stick them in the comments and I will do that on the next video. So the next video will probably be just to catch up with all the comments in one big video and just catch up with everybody then. And until the next time, thanks for watching. And my name's Susanna, and I live with trains. Bye bye.